My entire family chose to skip the most important day of my life, my wedding, and when I asked why, they coldly shrugged it off, saying, "It's just a piece of paper." That's when I realized blood doesn't always mean support, and love doesn't always come from where you expect it. I agreed, leaving their disarray behind, and severed all financial support I had provided. The following morning, as their reality unraveled, I had always envisioned my wedding day, not as an extravagant event, but as a serene occasion in a garden, adorned with wildflowers and surrounded by those dear to me. At 32, betrothed to Sam, I transformed this vision into reality, a modest gathering of 20 attendees, and a veil I had meticulously stitched myself during many sleepless nights, each stitch a silent pledge. I requested modest contributions from my family, my mother, my brother Jake, and my sister Kara, such as some portable seating, a music selection, and a homemade dessert. They would affirm, assuring me, "Don't fret, we'll handle it," and I placed my faith in them. However, the day prior, upon my inquiry, my mother lightly laughed. "Oh, darling, we didn't consider it significant, just a document," Jake interjected. "Indeed, calm down, it's not some fantastical event." My spirits plummeted. I stood in my kitchen, clutching my phone, gazing at the wildflower arrangement I had gathered from a meadow that very morning. They had done absolutely nothing, no seating, no melodies, no cake. Then I spotted it on Instagram, them at my cousin Tara's pre-wedding celebration. Luxury cars, shimmering decor, champagne glasses hoisted high, a caption proclaiming, "Family first." I had not been invited. I wasn't even a consideration. I suppressed the pain, managed a smile, and assured Sam we would resolve it. And we did. 10 companions arrived with assorted chairs from their storage spaces, and I approached him beneath a line of discount store lights that swayed gently in the wind. I uttered my vows, my voice strained, his hands firm in mine, and it was lovely, despite their absence. Yet, that evening, alone in our confined dwelling, my emotional restraint shattered. I sat on the edge of our bed, still in my gown, and wept, not from the happiness of uniting with Sam, but from the profound anguish of being inconsequential to the relatives I had supported for years. They discarded my special day like refuse, and I could not erase that void, that acute, silent pang of being overlooked by the individuals to whom I had dedicated everything. The following morning, I awoke with an oppressive sensation I couldn't dislodge, the kind that permeates your very being after a night spent weeping until depleted. Sam remained asleep, his breathing gentle beside me, and for a fleeting moment, I wished to pretend the previous day had never occurred. But my phone vibrated on the bedside table, drawing me back. I dreaded looking, knowing it would be them, yet I retrieved it nonetheless, my fingers trembling as I accessed our family conversation. I typed rapidly, before second thoughts could intervene. "You chose Tara's celebration over my wedding. I needed you there, and you weren't." My heart pounded as I pressed send, awaiting some form of rectification. My mother's response arrived first. "Don't overreact, dear. It's merely a formality, not a grand production." Kara followed. "Goodness, we didn't imagine you'd get so upset about it." "Relax." Jake offered nothing, just that small red receipt, mocking me from the display. I gazed at their words, my chest constricting, and something within me fractured. This wasn't solely about a missed day. It represented years of my self-sacrifice, and their casual disregard. I recalled Jake's late-night pleas for rent coverage when his DJ engagements ceased. 600 here, 100 there, always accompanied by, "You're the best sister." Kara's tearful narratives about needing her phone bill settled after another breakup, $80 monthly, like clockwork. My mother's subtle suggestions about her medication when her income fell short, 150 wired without hesitation. I had been their pillar, working additional shifts at the diner, foregoing holidays, convincing myself that this was what family did. And now my wedding, my singular moment, was just a piece of paper to them. The hurt ignited into a fierce, sharp anger, and I could no longer contain it. I composed one final message. "Thank you for clarifying my position." My thumb hovered over the send button, then pressed it before they could reply. I tapped the 3 small dots beside the chat name and selected Leave group. The subsequent silence felt like a profound exhalation I hadn't experienced in years. But I wasn't finished. I opened my banking application, the screen's cold light reflecting on my face. Jake's Netflix subscription, linked to my card for 2 years, cancelled. Kara's most recent Venmo request, $50 with a gas pump emoji, declined. My mother's automatic payment for her utilities, the one I had established when she nearly lost power last winter, stopped. Each tap was a severance, cutting the ties they had bound around me. I felt no guilt, not as I had anticipated. Instead, my chest eased, as if I had been holding my breath for a decade and finally released it. I placed the phone down, my hand now steady, and leaned back against the headboard. The room was quiet, save for the distant hum of the refrigerator, and I realized I had been awaiting this. Permission to cease being their everything. Sam stirred then, rolling over with a sleepy squint. "Are you all right?" he murmured, his voice husky. I looked at him, his disheveled hair, the way his eyes softened when they met mine, and felt a flicker of something warm, something uniquely mine. "I will be," I stated, and truly meant it. He sat up, resting a hand on my knee through the blanket. "You don't owe them anything, you know," he said. "Not a single thing." His words resonated more profoundly than they should have, because I had never allowed myself to believe them before. I had always thought love meant giving until you were depleted, that family meant shouldering their burdens, regardless of how much it crushed you. But sitting there, with Sam's hand grounding me, I perceived it differently. They had taken my trust, my time, my money, even my wedding, and offered me mere fragments in return. I nodded slowly, certainly, and he drew me into his embrace. I didn't weep this time. I simply allowed myself to rest there, feeling the initial, genuine fissure in the barrier I had constructed to keep them within and myself apart. It wasn't peace, not yet, but it was a beginning, a jagged, small edge of something nascent. The subsequent morning arrived like a sudden impact, not with sound, but with a deluge of messages illuminating my phone before I had even poured my coffee. I sat on our worn sofa, Sam still in the shower, and observed the screen radiating their desperation. Jake's message appeared first. "Hey, Netflix is down. What's wrong with your card?" Then Kara. "I can't get to work, I'm out of fuel. Send me $40 immediately." My mother's message came last, her tone sharp. "My lights flickered all night, and the heating is malfunctioning. Why did you discontinue the payments?" I did not reply. I simply gazed at the accumulating messages, each one slightly more frantic, and felt a peculiar, quiet satisfaction, as if I had activated a switch they were unaware I possessed. Sam, toweling his neck, glanced at my phone. "They're losing it, huh?" he remarked, a faint smile playing on his lips. I nodded, placing the phone face down. "Let them," I stated, and for once, I truly meant it. I was no longer rushing to rectify their blunders. Then my phone chimed again, not a text, but an Instagram notification. I should have resisted looking, but curiosity compelled me. It was Jake's story, a self-portrait with Tara, both grinning beneath vibrant club lights, captioned, "True family shows up when it matters." The timestamp struck me like a blow, 8:47 p.m., precisely when I had been exchanging my vows under those drooping lights, my voice trembling yet resolute. He had posted it last night, hours after I had exited the chat, as if he intended for me to see it. My throat tightened, and I scrolled through the comments, cousins liking it, a few yes, and heart eye emojis. No one mentioned me, no one inquired about my whereabouts. I had been erased not merely from their day, but from their narrative, reduced to a mere footnote they could ridicule. I dropped the phone onto the cushion, my hands clenching into fists. Sam noticed my expression and sat beside me, his damp shoulder brushing mine. "What now?" he asked, his voice subdued. I showed him the post, and his jaw tightened. "That's low even for him," he commented. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling, allowing the anger to simmer. I could have messaged back, confronted them, but what would be the purpose? They would distort it, claim I was overly dramatic, hypersensitive, as they always did. Instead, I envisioned it: Jake scrambling when his streaming service wouldn't load mid-binge, Kara stranded at a gas station, my mother fumbling with a flashlight when the power dipped. They had constructed their lives upon me, upon my overtime earnings, my constant willingness to assist whenever they faltered. And now, the foundation was giving way. I had spent years weaving their safety nets while they danced on precarious wires, never once looking down to see who was supporting them. And what did I receive? A wedding they neglected to attend, and a brother who preferred to flaunt for Tara than offer me any assistance. The Instagram post was not merely an insult. It was a dagger, and he twisted it with a smile. Sam's hand found mine, warm and callous from his warehouse job. "They're not worth this," he said, his thumb tracing circles on my knuckles. "You've given them enough." I turned to him, his hazel eyes steady, and felt a pang, not just hurt, but something more potent. He was correct. I had poured myself into them until I was empty, believing that was the essence of love. But love does not render you invisible. It does not post selfies while you are pledging forever to another. I squeezed his hand back, harder than I intended. "I'm done carrying them," I stated, my voice resolute for the first time in days. He nodded, pulling me against his side, and we remained there, the phone now silent, their pleas unanswered. Outside, the world hummed, cars passing, a dog barking down the street, but within, it was just us, and the burden I had shed felt like a triumph. They could panic all they wished. I was no longer their rescuer, and that Instagram post only confirmed why I had ceased. The stillness after severing ties with them felt surreal initially, as if I were holding my breath, anticipating a wave of culpability that never arrived. Instead, I sat on our balcony that afternoon, a chipped teacup in my hands, and allowed my thoughts to wander backward. I needed to comprehend how I had reached this point, how I had permitted them to deplete me until my wedding became merely a document. It began when I was 17, the year my father departed. My mother was distraught, weeping into her coffee as bills accumulated. So, I found employment at the local convenience store, scanning cigarettes and confectionery after school. I would discreetly hand her my earnings, stating, "It's fine, I don't require much." And she would embrace me, calling me her bedrock. Jake was 15 then, sneaking out to DJ clandestine basement gatherings, and Kara, 19, was pursuing some unreliable individual who would wreck her vehicle and leave her stranded. I was the one who maintained composure, the one who did not falter. By 21, I had saved enough for a dilapidated Toyota, while they struggled. Jake spun records for empty venues, Kara drifted between dead-end jobs and detrimental boyfriends. The requests began modestly. "Can you lend me $100 for rent?" from Jake, or "I'm short on groceries, just this once," from Mom. I would agree, because they were family, because I was capable. But once transformed into always, I would take on additional shifts, forego social evenings, while they leaned more heavily. Jake's $100 escalated to $1,000 when he vowed he would eventually achieve success. Kara's grocery needs morphed into $300 for penalties after she totaled her car while intoxicated, without insurance. My mother's utilities, her medications, her "just until I'm back on my feet." It all accumulated. I ceased counting after $25,000, but I maintained a mental tally. Every late-night transfer, every "you're a lifesaver," that faded into silence. They would commend me. "You're the strong one, the unifier," until it was no longer praise, merely expectation. When I encountered Sam at 29, something shifted. He perceived me, not as the problem solver, not as the financial resource, but simply as me. We constructed a life in our modest apartment, and when he proposed, I allowed myself to desire something, a wedding, a day that belonged to me. I informed them about it over dinner one evening, my voice trembling with optimism. My mother offered a faint smile, remarking, "That's sweet, but you'll manage, right?" Jake smirked. "Sounds relaxed, no big deal." Kara didn't even look up from her phone. I should have recognized it then. Their nods were insincere, their interest feigned. But I persevered, planning alone, soliciting meager assistance they never intended to provide. Tara's wedding was different. Her third engagement, a spectacle of tulle and catering they all RSVP'd to without hesitation. I had sent my mother $200 via Venmo for gas to attend, unaware it would be the very weekend I would require their presence. My day was too small, too quiet, not sufficiently ostentatious to matter. Reflecting, I discerned the pattern. I had been their support for so long they forgot I could stumble. Jake never succeeded. He crashed on friends' sofas, messaging me for streaming passwords. Kara's predicaments worsened, DUIs, evictions, and I would resolve them, believing it validated my goodness. My mother relied on me as if I were her second chance, not her child. They took my money, my time, my trust, and offered nothing in return. But Sam altered that. He would prepare dinner for me after my shifts, inquire about my sketches, remind me I was not merely a means to their ends. My wedding was my boundary, my first genuine assertion, and they couldn't even feign concern. Tara's evening received limousines and cheers. Mine received shrugs and an Instagram slight. I sipped my tea, the steam curling in the cool air, and realized I had been oblivious, not to their shortcomings, but to my own intrinsic value. I had believed love meant draining myself for them, that family meant bearing their failures on my back. But it doesn't. It never did. And out here, with the city humming below and Sam's laughter drifting from inside, I knew I was not returning to that falsehood. For several days after I severed the connection, they appeared unannounced, akin to an approaching tempest. I was in the kitchen, dicing onions for dinner, when the doorbell chimed forcefully and rapidly. Sam raised an eyebrow from the sofa, but I recognized who it was. I dried my hands, took a breath, and opened the entrance. My mother strode in first, her countenance taut with that disapproving instructor's gaze she had perfected. "This outburst of yours has gone far enough," she snapped, arms folded. Jake slouched behind her, hood up, sprawling onto my armchair as if he owned it. Kara entered last, tossing her bag onto the counter with a huff, her eyes sharp. "You're truly upset over a minor gathering?" she stated, her voice imbued with disdain. I stood there, knife still in hand from the cutting board, and sensed the atmosphere thicken. They had not come to apologize. They had come to demand I rectify their disorder, as always. I set the knife down, slowly and deliberately, and confronted them. "It wasn't a party," I stated, my voice low but steady. "It was my wedding. You chose Tara's evening over me, after I've supported you all for years." I stepped closer, the words pouring forth. "Jake, I've covered your rent, your subscriptions, thousands. Kara, your penalties, your phone, your excuses. Mom, your bills, your medications, every time you couldn't manage. I requested one day, just one, and you couldn't even appear." Their expressions froze, taken aback, but I was not finished. "You didn't forget, you decided I didn't matter." Silence hung heavy, and then my mother waved a hand as if to dismiss it. "We sold your veil on eBay," she said casually, as if she had pawned an old lamp. "Figured you were done with it after the fuss." My veil, hours of meticulous stitching, my quiet pride, gone for $25. My vision blurred, but I maintained my composure. Kara snorted, leaning against the counter. "And I used your venue deposit for Tara's gift," she added, smirking. "You weren't utilizing it, so I got her that spa package. $1,200 well spent." My breath caught. That deposit represented my savings, my trust, and she had seized it as if it were spare change. I gripped the counter's edge, fury surging. "You stole from me," I stated, my voice now trembling. "Both of you." Jake finally looked up, annoyed. "Relax, it's not that serious. You're acting like we committed a crime." My mother nodded. "You're exaggerating this. We're family, not your adversaries." I laughed, sharp and bitter, and it startled them. "Family?" I retorted. "Family doesn't abandon you, sell your belongings, steal your money, then act as if you're the problem." Lila then entered. She had been in the bathroom and overheard everything. She halted abruptly, eyes wide, then stepped beside me. "You're unbelievable," she stated, glaring at them. You treat her like a damn ATM, and when she stops giving, you pull this, selling her veil, stealing her deposit. Her voice quivered with an anger I had not yet discovered. You're not family, you're parasites. My mother snapped. Stay out of this, Lila. But Lila shook her head. No. I've witnessed her sacrifice for you, and I'm through. She grabbed her jacket and exited the door, which clicked shut like a gunshot. I turned back to them, calmer now, cold. I am no longer your bank. I am no longer your solution. Get out. They did not move at first. Jake scoffed. You're going to regret this. Kara rolled her eyes, snatching her bag. So dramatic. Good luck without us. My mother lingered, her mouth opening as if to argue, then closed it. You'll come crawling back, she muttered, and followed them out. The door slammed, and the apartment became still. Sam stood, crossing to me in 3 strides, his hands finding my shoulders. Are you all right? He inquired, searching my face. I nodded slowly, the weight of their words, their actions, settling in. The veil, the deposit, their sense of entitlement. It wasn't just betrayal. It was deliberate and cruel theft. But standing there with Sam's warmth against me, I felt something substantial. I had confronted them, articulated the truth, and sent them away. The sting remained raw and deep, but so did a spark, a fierce, unyielding resolve that proclaimed I was done yielding. The days following their abrupt departure extended into weeks, and their existence began to disintegrate incrementally, like a fragile structure of cards I had ceased supporting. Jake's electricity was disconnected. I learned from a mutual acquaintance that he was once again relying on others' hospitality, uttering curses about my name. Kara's vehicle was impounded after she failed to make lease payments. She left me a voicemail, her voice shrill. I'm stranded, this is your responsibility. My mother's phone went silent, her text replaced by a solitary email. Heating is off, bills are accumulating. How could you do this? I did not reply. I sat on our sofa, legs tucked beneath me, allowing their words to rebound off the walls without penetrating. Sam observed me from the kitchen, stirring a pot of chili, and remarked, They're navigating life without you. I nodded, a faint smile gracing my lips. About time, I stated, and truly felt it. Their turmoil was no longer my burden. I had returned it to them, and they were at a loss as to how to handle it. Yet, it was an absolute silence. Kara called again a week later, her tone softer, broken. I'm sorry. I messed up, okay? I shouldn't have taken that money. I listened, my finger hovering over the delete option, and let the message conclude. I'm in a difficult situation now, and I understand. I leaned too heavily. Her voice fractured, but I did not return the call. Jake adopted a different approach, posting a diatribe on a social media platform. Some individuals abandon their own kin over trivial matters. Loyalty is dead. He received 3 likes, 1 from Kara. My mother sent a handwritten letter, shaky, stating, We are struggling, but we are still your family. Consider that. I folded it into a drawer, unread beyond the first line. They desired me to feel it, to yield, but I did not. I had spent years submerged in their guilt trips. This time, I remained on solid ground, dry and steadfast. Then, a glimmer of light appeared. Lila messaged me daily, initially with humorous images, then with, You merit a genuine celebration. She and Sam's brother, Tom, organized a belated reception, merely 12 people, folding tables in Tom's yard, fairy lights strung like constellations. I wore jeans, Sam a flannel shirt, and we danced to a playlist Lila had curated, laughing when the speakers crackled. No one requested money or favors. They simply arrived, hands full of shared dishes and embraces. Later, a package arrived at our door, no note, just a soft, blue quilt, stitched with tiny stars. I knew it was from Mia, Jake's former partner. She had always been kind, even when he was not. I draped it over our sofa, ran my fingers over the threads, and felt my throat constrict, not from sorrow, but from this quiet affirmation that I was not truly alone. Tara messaged too, unexpectedly. Sorry, they're awful. I should have said it sooner, I replied. Thanks. And left it at that, a small bridge I did not yet need to cross. Their disarray continued to spiral. Jake lost his DJ equipment to a pawn shop. Kara's employer terminated her for absenteeism. My mother's landlord issued warnings. But I did not flinch. I walked through our apartment one evening, Sam humming behind me as he washed dishes, and felt the atmosphere shift. No vibrating phone, no late-night pleas, just us, our small life pieced together without their burden. I paused by the window, gazing out at the flickering streetlights below, and realized I was no longer waiting, not for their apologies, not for their transformation. Lila's laughter from that party echoed in my mind, Mia's quilt warmed my hands, and Sam's voice drew me back to the present. I had constructed something modest, imperfect, authentic, and they could not affect it. The veil was gone, the deposit too, but what they had taken no longer defined me. I turned to Sam, his sleeves rolled up, and joined him at the sink, nudging his hip with mine. You're humming off-key, I teased, and he grinned, splashing me with suds. For the first time in weeks, I laughed, loudly, freely, genuinely, and knew I had weathered their storm, not merely intact, but stronger. 8 weeks have passed since I closed the door on them, and I am not merely enduring, I am truly living in a manner I never imagined possible. Our apartment